On today's episode of Shifting Talent, I'm joined by Anusha Meka. Anusha is a group engineering manager at Microsoft, and today's discussion is one of the most honest and practical conversations I've had about the future of engineering talent in this age of AI. We talked about what's really happening inside big tech hiring right now, why companies are temporarily concentrating hiring at the top of the pyramid, and what needs to be true for junior talent to come back in force, and also the fundamentals that still separate high trajectory engineers from everyone else. Anusha also breaks down how AI is already being used during technical interviews at Microsoft, not as a shortcut, but as a multiplier, and what signals hiring managers are looking for to tell whether you can wield AI responsibly instead of leaning on it as a crutch. So if you're early in your career, trying to break in, or maybe you're leading teams and rethinking your approach to talent, you'll definitely enjoy this episode. I want to ask you about Charlotte, right? Because I think that Charlotte is just such an interesting town. And if you think about tech talent, a lot of people's mind immediately goes to San Francisco or New York or Chicago. What's your perspective on just what is unique about this Charlotte market, and maybe where Charlotte excels, where does it lag, and what would it take to actually change that?
Charlotte, is in a really interesting chapter of its tech evolution, right? Unlike San Francisco and New York, Charlotte wasn't built on startup first or product culture. It was built on financial services, risk management, enterprise stability. Not just the big banks, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Ally. There are so many smaller tech startups, and most of them are all fintech. If you notice, right? So many fintech startups. So our startup culture is quite different, not just product based. It's fintech based, and which makes sense because that's what the market is. So that actually adds a unique advantage because the engineering talent here tends to be deep in systems thinking, reliability, compliance, and scale because they are building platforms that process billions of transactions with zero tolerance to downtime. So when you're making a transaction, if it is not real time, let's say there is $2,000 in someone's account and they made a transaction and it did not update real time. They are making another transaction. So we'll have to minus whatever they spent in their first transaction before allowing the second transaction. See how important it is to just be, so much concurrency in, have to be there. So that's just way different from, for example, I build chatbots at Microsoft. Availability is more important than actually making sure that we have the same output coming out of the chatbot every time. So there is the fundamentals are way different than compared to some of the other tech companies. Another defining feature of Charlotte is loyalty, to be honest with you, culture. Because if you see in San Francisco, engineers often hop roles every 2-3 years, chasing equity acceleration or brand recognition and all of that. In Charlotte, engineers and engineering leaders tend to stay longer, grow within organizations, and build institutional knowledge and domain knowledge, which is a huge advantage to the companies, honestly speaking, right? Because they are focused on operational excellence and platform continuity. And it helps a lot to have that engineers building that knowledge and staying put at a company longer. So now, to your other question, where does Charlotte lag? It's speed of innovation and risk taking. Because we are in fintech, we are really not taking as many risks, right? Because customer data, financial transaction, world runs on finances. People say money is not important. I do not believe it. So that's why lack of innovation is not necessarily a bad thing in a way, because we are not able to take as many risks as the startup companies. Some of these other startup companies do, right? So here, the idea is funded on proof, not just on conviction. So the ecosystem is still maturing when it comes to venture capital, AI startups, and early stage product engineering culture. So there is incredible talent here, but so much of it is untapped because we haven't fully built the infrastructure for founders and product builders to experiment and scale first. And like I said, it's necessarily not a bad thing. Again, we are in fintech and not like a, building something that is fun. So what would change that is intentional investment in AI and startup ecosystems, not just fintech. That's one thing that could change if we. But again, fintech is unique to us. We should not be losing it. And create anchor institutions for innovation as well, like AI research hubs, GPU capacity centers, university partnerships, and all of that. So, in a nutshell, I don't think we are trying to be next Silicon Valley. We are building something different, a tech ecosystem rooted in resilience and financial intelligence. And the opportunity is now to layer innovation on top of that foundation, not to get away from it. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and I know like we saw in the last couple of years that Charlotte had the opportunity to be labeled a tech hub, right? Which we didn't get this time around, and so of course I think, of course, from the company standpoint, but also even for entrepreneurs like myself, we're thinking about, okay, next time that opportunity comes up, how do we make sure that we have capitalized on that? And a lot of it has to do with talent. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to speak with you, because we have a focus at HTD Talent on the early career side. And you have hired many early career technologists over the years. Sounds like you did some recent hiring as well. I want to spend a little bit of time just digging in on early career talent and like what is actually working today, because there's this narrative that we're hearing in the age of AI. There are CEOs of flashy new AI lab companies who are telling computer science grads in school today that by the time they graduate, there may not be a job for them in coding because AI will just take those jobs. Help us level set the reality. What are your opinions about what's coming here?
That's a good question. So I think this narrative is causing unnecessary panic. Not because AI isn't transformative, it is transformative, but because people are misunderstanding how AI is actually working, right? AI is not replacing software engineers. AI is replacing low leverage engineering work, the kind of repetitive coding, boilerplate, debugging tasks that junior engineers traditionally spend a lot of time on. That will be, absolutely automated, right? Which is great news. That way, engineers can actually do more. So here is the key. The role of software engineering is evolving, not disappearing, in my opinion. We are moving from just code writers to problem solvers, systems thinkers, and orchestration, facilitators. Engineers who understand the system architecture, data flows, security, performance trade-offs, and user experience will be even in higher demand, because AI can write code, but it doesn't understand context. I was doing a course at the AL School of Management a few months ago, and there was this problem, a finance course, and problem was to calculate EBITDA for a bunch of companies. And I was like trying to do it, and it was taking a long time. Then I'm like, I'm going to ask AI, and it gave me all wrong answers. It did not do math very well. So I'm like, let me write a Python program to actually calculate this, because this is like getting too much. And I was able to write Python program with help of AI, and my coursework, which I would have spent 2 hours, was done in like 30 minutes. So I still had to do it. I mean, as a human who is actually having to do the task, had to still complete the task myself. I just leveraged AI to do it. That's just one example, outside example that I'm giving, not related to work. So this is what AI is doing to help you speed up, to help you do work more efficiently. We have this mid-year, end-of-year reviews that we write as managers, right? And they take a lot of time, like perspectives and feedback that you write to other people during this time. Now I can give my context. I still have to tell AI, this is what I think about this person performance, or this is the feedback I want to write this for this person. AI is able to, take that input, and even if I provide some documents, take a look at it, and able to write it up for me. So the task that used to take an hour, it's taking 15 minutes. So I'm actually saving a lot of time doing it, but I cannot just say, hey, AI, go write my, team members' performance review. It will not be able to do it. That kind of, even if it actually has the intelligence to do it, it doesn't have the context. It doesn't have that human, intuition that is required to do it. So AI is absolutely here, and it's going to be even better. But I genuinely believe it's going to be an accelerator for our careers, for our life, not replacing anything. I don't believe so.
Okay. So the key that I'm pulling from that you said is context, right? If you
Yeah.
have the right context, you can use AI as a tool.
Yeah.
So paint the picture then for someone who's coming into their career as an early career engineer. How do they gain that business context as quickly as possible so they can effectively use these tools? And maybe thinking about it from the standpoint of what's the first 30 days and what's the first 6 months, those non-negotiables that 2025 age engineers need to bring to the table to be effective.
Good question. So, the engineers who thrive in today's market aren't the ones who just learn the code base, right? Coding has been automated a lot. GitHub Copilot is a great tool. It uses, ChatGPT and Anthropic and all of that on the background, able to produce code. So, I think the key here is to learn business, the customers, and the purpose of the system that you're building and working on, right? As well as fundamentals of engineering. If you're a software engineer, if you're a PM, fundamentals of the product, fundamentals of the user experience. Learn that and have all of your fundamentals straight. And then leverage AI to actually, work faster, work smarter. So the gold standard ramp up isn't just about velocity; it's about clarity, credibility, and the impact. So first for 30 days is about orientation and building foundation. That hasn't changed. That's always the case, right? Learn the product deeply, who uses it, what does it matter, what's the core business value. Understand the architecture end to end. Doesn't have to be in full detail, but enough to understand how a request flows from A to B through the systems. Build relationships with your immediate team, product managers, senior managers, and your success depends on access to this knowledge. And it's not just because it's AI era. This has always been the truth. Pick a starter feature and ship something. It's not about scale at this point. It's about demonstrating ownership and curiosity and accountability. Ask strong questions like not AI can actually help you write the code and fix a bug, but ask questions like why is it designed this way and what constraints shaped it. If you're asking a question to senior engineers, now you don't have to, you can rely on AI for some of your debugging and all of that, great, but understanding the core system is going to be a really important thing to do. And in nutshell, the goal for first 30 days would be become known as someone who learns fast, contributes early, curious, and cares about the bigger picture. And first 6 months, go from contributor to force multiplier. So now it's not just about delivery alone. It's about how you elevate systems and people. Here, some of the non-negotiables are own a meaningful area, end-to-end feature or end-to-end project. And you should be the go-to person for that feature, service, or a customer-facing flow. Demonstrate systems thinking again. Start contributing to design discussions and not just implementation. Measure your impact. Are you improving performance, reducing incidents, driving usage, or unblocking other teams, whatever that is. Use AI as leverage, not as a crutch. AI should accelerate your output. And you should be driving the engineering judgment, right? Not just dependent on AI for everything. Show resilience and learning agility. Mistakes are fine. What matters is you self-correct, seek feedback, and grow visually. So the first 6 months goal is really move from new hire to trusted engineer who increases the velocity of the team. So AI is here, and especially in the tech world, right? Folks who, or even in any other world, like even doctors and all others, right? People who learn how to use AI and leverage it for increased productivity are going to be the ones that will be most successful. That's for sure. So if I go to doctor's office, they're not taking notes anymore. They're recording conversation, right? That's like every single aspect of our life is deeply intertwined and is becoming dependent on AI. So the way is not to compete with it, is to master it. So you use it as a tool. It will not replace you. You use it as a tool and actually leverage it for your own growth and productivity.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up. on that because you're talking about taking ownership, in the first 6 months. And there's a lot of, I guess, license there to take initiative. When you're overseeing teams of early career folks, how do you balance you want people to take initiative, but also wanting to make sure that they are not going off the deep end and there's some guardrails in place. So what does that look like for you quickly?
Process, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The process is here, which is we have the features or the work that we prioritize every semester, quarter, even sprint, which is like a 2 weeks cycle. And we all have check-ins every day, every week to make sure that we are staying on the goal and not deflecting too much. It's not just for junior engineers, it applies for all of them. So I have 4 teams reporting to me, right? And they have their own scrum process, daily stand-ups and planning process, grooming and all of that. But I have check-ins like every other week we have sprint demo where people demo the work they did. Every other week we have design review sessions where I sit and, actually review the important designs and all of that. But each of the managers reporting to me and the principal engineers and staff engineers do that for their products too. There is enough autonomy for everyone to operate and be successful, but there is also check-in points for all of us to make sure that we are staying on track. And it applies to the next level as well. I sit in a service review call every week for the services and products that I own, and with my leadership, and I'm accountable and responsible to talk about it to make sure that we are staying on track on what is the important goal. These check-in points are not for micromanaging anyone, to make sure that we are staying on the goal and keep tracking of what's important. So just as I always tell people, processes are already established that is working for some time. Just follow it. You should be fine. Process is not a bad thing. Process is a good thing when you know how to leverage it. I even have Scrum calls every week with all my engineering managers and principal engineers to make sure that we discuss impediments and dependency on each other teams and make sure we help unblock each other, and not really, sitting on a problem as not asking for help. This is not just for junior talent, for every single one in my organization. A space, a trusted space where everybody can come and ask questions and learn from each other.
I love that. Let's switch over quickly. I want to talk about the people who are aspiring to break into the organization. So there is a pool of seniors who are graduating this coming year and folks who have also recently graduated who are struggling right now. We're seeing articles everywhere about the unemployment rate for people with degrees, even computer science degrees. So when we talk about breaking into the industry in 2025, the resume alone doesn't always seem to move the needle. Can you share your thoughts on the role that maybe networking plays for the people who are looking to break into the industry?
Very good question, because I have seen a lot of people come to me for advice on this. So the reality today is your resume is no longer your entry ticket. And as a sitting in the hiring manager role, right? We are getting hundreds of applications for every single role that is there. So it's, and people are trying to do best to pick the people, they think they can do the job best. So most junior engineers won't get discovered through an application portal. They get discovered through network, proximity, and proof of work. So the question isn't just about where to network, but how to create that gravitational pull. So I would say engage in communities where engineers actually hang out, like specialized Slack groups. Each technology like React, Kubernetes, LLM has active real-time communities, right? Meetup groups and participating in hackathons in another way. Also show proof of your work, contribute to open source repositories, build a project as part of your portfolio, and add all of these to your resume and LinkedIn. Post problems you solve on LinkedIn as well. And another way to network is to target networking, right? Focus on engineers and engineering leaders you admire in the companies, that you admire, not just the recruiters. And so there is local tech ecosystems like cities, startup hubs or innovation labs, or university affiliated incubators. These are some of the places where you could network. I every time I had full-time roles prior to this, latest round, because we had this across the globe, not just in Charlotte, because traditionally even at Microsoft, I hired all my engineering team in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's how I operated. So every time I had a role, I would post on LinkedIn, people would reach out, and I hired a lot of people through my network. Actually, 85 to 90% of my team I hired was all through my network. Because like I said, because we get hundreds of applications through the portal, and recruiters, let's say, are the first ones who filter them out. So some people might answer, like, resume may not exactly match what I want, but so it's not, recruiters are doing their best to filter these candidates out. So I have actually had a lot of people through my network, especially through LinkedIn. I was actually recruited for Microsoft through LinkedIn. So it is one of the greater, still a really good tool where you could network with people and look out for positions that are being posted and go apply. That's how at least I also recruited, right? So I know this for a fact. And I have one more thing to add to this. Don't just focus on full-time roles, right? Like, because has been greater struggle today than any time else to break into full-time roles. So start with contracting gigs. Not trying to add PR to HTT talent because I'm on this podcast encouraging people to come to you or anything like that. I genuinely believe that going through a consulting firm to get a contracting gig in today's landscape is easier than targeting only full-time jobs. Even when I graduated from college in 2008 in India, I already had an offer for a full-time job in a top tech company that never realized into a job because of the market crash. So I decided to go pursue my master's degree in UK, and then I came here to US and pursued another master's degree. The first role I have ever taken was a contracting job at Bank of America, which turned into a full-time job. I went to the leadership role and then came to Microsoft into another leadership role. I started my career as a contractor, as a consultant, and I grew from there. So that is, in a way, if you do not know, I was very bad at networking. So it was hard for me to break into those roles that I wanted to work at, these companies that I wanted to work. But this path really worked out well for me. So, just there are so many. I even remember, Rob, you and I worked a long time ago at Bank of America doing this early in career hiring at Bank of America, where we directly worked with your company at that time, where you trained them to the specific technology stack skill set that we needed. And we hired from you. And some of the folks still work at Bank of America. And then, and later converted into full-time and all of that. So this path is there. Do not get stuck and boggled down on the path that I'm going to go apply for hundreds of these full-time jobs and, not seeing any results. If you're a talented individual, they're like, Charlotte has great consulting firms. Pick, choose, go, network with them. Try to get, into industry through them. So that's how I did it.
Yeah. It's really just about getting started.
Yeah.
And I think the people who are open and eager and really good at their craft as well, that's super important, right? Like you can't drop that part of it. You won't network your way in just if you don't know your stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you've done the work that you're supposed to do and then you get out of the house and you make sure you're present. I like to use the term, this is just one that me and my brother have used a lot. If you're hanging out at the barber shop, eventually you're going to get a haircut. Right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, exactly. You have to know your stuff. Do all of this work that you need to do, and also network on top of it. So that's how you break into the first step of your career.
Let's talk about AI and AI specifically in the interview process, because we had a call before this, and you were telling me that you're actually allowing and encouraging people to use AI during their tech interviews. So I want to understand a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
When you're allowing that, because this is different from what a lot of other companies are doing and saying today. So what exact behaviors signal to you that this person can wield this AI responsibly versus they're just leaning on this tool as a crutch and they don't actually know the basics?
Great question again. We started allowing at least for the engineers to use AI in coding rounds is because we know that they're going to be using that in their day job. So why not, right? So it is advantages both ways. It could, be, a pro for the candidates that way. They can focus on proving their skill set and their deep understanding in the basics and fundamentals than just code writing. Same thing for the interviewer. We get to again to deep dive into their fundamentals and all of that, and not just their ability to write code. Ability to write the code is important, absolutely, yes. But with leverage of AI, they could just we allow them to write the bootstrap the code for whatever the problem we give with AI, great. But they should be able to talk about why they are picking up a certain approach. If a problem can be solved in a few different ways. So they have to pick up a way or a method on how they're solving the problem themselves. The candidate should do it themselves and not just rely on AI. And then can use AI to bootstrap that code fast. But when asked to explain, they should be able to explain steps clearly. They should, let's say we introduce an edge case. They should be able to adapt quickly and adjust the logic instead of, I'll have to consult the AI again. And asking why a specific code exists or why did you take this approach, should be able to provide rationale why behind it. And if there are any tweaks asked for performance optimization and whatever, right? They should be able to show the understanding that they understand that question, how they can do that. So what interviewers looking here is strong fundamentals and use of AI to make progress faster, not entirely dependent on it. So that's how at least we are approaching this AI interview process.
Yeah. And I mean, everything you said there is about ensuring that people have the fundamentals, right? Because like what I'm hearing, you're still looking for very much the same thing you always looked for. Was people with strong fundamentals. You're not hiring experts, you're hiring, we're talking specifically here about more early career folks, right? So the fundamentals are everything. Maybe it's a little bit of a sidebar here, but are there specific fundamentals that when you're doing hiring at scale that you notice are lacking in a large number of, say, computer science graduates?
In a way, so I think it's also the fault of companies for leading the computer science graduates towards that mindset. I'm not going to exactly blame them, right? I've seen interview people like early in career folks, especially able to write code because they're like, I solved 1,000 lead code problems, I can write code. But when I ask a difference between inheritance and polymorphism to a computer science graduate, they're not able to explain it well enough. They're not able to explain it. Even if they explain it theoretically, they're not able to give examples on how they use it in their work or in their college projects and stuff like that. So, and this is not today's problem because of AI or anything. This has been a trend for a few years because, a lot of give a lead code problem, a problem, and then ask them to write code, execute edge cases. Great, this is what we are seeing. I think we kind of directed this computer science graduates, or any graduates in a wrong direction. More focus on mugging up the problems and spitting them out instead of actually learning fundamentals. So I'm not going to blame the kids that are coming out of college today for this. When I interviewed back in the college, my third year of engineering, I was, Bachelor of Technology in Information Technology. That's what I got in India. So the offer that never realized into an actual job because I was interviewed in 2006. The industry was great. 2008, I graduated. It crashed. So I had to go do my master's. So I interviewed. The interviewer who was doing the technical interview asking me to write code and queries. I was actually writing on a piece of paper, not even executing on a computer. So we sat in a room. He gave me a few problems to solve. Asked me, "What is your favorite coding language?" I said C. Then okay, so I want you to solve in C. I did. He's like, "What about some object-oriented programming language?" I said Java. So, but I was not getting the syntax right. He's like, just write the logic. Don't worry about the syntax. I'm not looking for you to get the syntax right. You can just, read it, get it done. I want to make sure you know how to write the logic. So I was writing the logic on a piece of paper. What is your other favorite subject other than C and Java? Databases. Okay. Tell me, give me a real world example about, he gave me a scenario, talked about primary key, foreign key, how I use it, and all of that. It's about the computer science basics more than whether I'm able to write syntax right and able to execute it. Nothing like that. So we moved far away from it, like too far away. And then we are saying, this is it. So I think now the time to go back a little bit and people to understand, like especially early in career folks, get your fundamentals right, get the systems thinking straight, get your algorithmic reasoning right, how you decompose a problem and plan to solve it, and then you utilize AI to solve the problem if interviewer allows it. But do not assume going in interview you will be allowed to use AI. It still may not be true for most companies. So if they allow you to use, that's a additional thing you get and you could use it. If not, still have your fundamentals straight. Be able to ask about not just coding, right? We have systems design as well. Ask about functional requirements, non-functional requirements. Break them down into why you pick these requirements as for this problem and how you kind of think to solve that. What is the end-to-end workflow that you're thinking about? Have all of that. Nobody's looking for. At least I won't look for perfection. I look for your thinking, your attitude to solve the problem. Are you asking the right questions? This will signal me that you have strong fundamentals and ability to execute code on the fly. So that's
Yeah, because you're literally looking for an engineer, not just someone who knows one specific skill, but you're looking for a problem solver. I hope people are listening to this and really hearing you here, because we interview a ton of computer science graduates as well, and it's shocking the number of people who even just struggle to tell us what the pillars of OOP are. And I've gotten feedback from them, and they're like, that was from my first semester freshman year, and then everything else we've moved on past that. And your feedback to them is, number one, there's a reason why it's called a pillar, right? So it needs to be flowing through everything that you're doing. But these are the areas that you are much more confident in someone who has the fundamentals down, who has that strong engineering problem solving mindset. And just the story you shared about, not caring about necessarily the syntax, right? But the logic behind it, that's what a true engineer is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, it's not exactly the fault of the graduates that are coming out of colleges today. This is what they were being told. Solve like 10, thousands of lead code problems and come to an interview, and then you will be hired. But now with AI, good or bad, this is going to change because AI can solve the thousands of lead code problems. So you need to be even stronger with your fundamentals now to be able to prove that how you stand out compared to all other candidates out there.
Yeah. All right. Last question on the AI part of the interview and allowing it. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the right process of, if AI is going to be allowed in the interview, do you tell candidates about it up front and set the expectation of how they should be using AI? Or is a better process to just kind of leave things ambiguous and just see, like, how are you approaching leveraging these tools in this new age?
I believe we should disclose it, right? Candidates, even with years of experience, not just early in career folks, are already somewhat nervous about do's and don'ts during an interview. So I typically do not leave the topic of discussion and process ambiguous at all. I provide clear areas to focus: one coding round, system design round, cross-functional leadership, cross collaboration. I personally give there are 3 rounds, 4 rounds, whatever, that what each round will focus on for them, as well as the tools they're allowed to use during the interview, including the extent of AI usage. I personally do not believe leaving things ambiguous. And the reason is because, like I said, we are not mind readers here, right? So the interviewer might be expecting something and you might be doing something else, right? And you do not know all the do's and don'ts in an interview, and it's even hard. It becomes even harder if you leave that ambiguity out there, that, oh, what I'm going to have to prepare for, because a lot of experienced candidates with 15-20 years experience too, they tend to do interview much better if they're prepared to what is expected out of them than, okay, I'm going to just, you have to just wing it, come prepared with everything in the world. That's not possible. We are humans again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So early in career folks, same thing. They have, when we do university hiring and all of the rounds too, as hiring managers, we assign specific focus areas for each of the interviewer, and we tell the recruiter to go, like communicate that with the candidate, saying that this is what the focus areas could be. It's because it's knowledge is unlimited, and at the same, so questions are unlimited. So what are they gonna have to prepare for if you're not giving them any direction?
Yeah. And I wish more companies had this transparency. It's fair to the candidate to know what is coming in. This is part of what I feel like is leading people to use some of these tools that are basically up on their phone or hidden on their screen while they're trying to solve a problem, that's just giving them all of the answers, because they're going in and they're like, I'm not an encyclopedia, I don't know everything. And so they feel like they have to have a tool because they want to get the right answer. But if you point them and say, hey, here's what we're focusing on for today's interview, come ready to talk about this and let's have a good discussion.
So I at the university, while actually studying here in US, one of the professors had their open book examination. Can you believe it? Open book exam. It's not like bunch of multiple choice questions, or it's not solve this problem on the fly, write this algorithm. Open book examination, and it was not easy, by the way. The open book exam was easy because now I have to do even better because I have the resources to use it during the exam, so I'll be even more prepared. So it was a very interesting experience. Throughout my life, I had only one professor do that open book exam, so which was a great experience. So I think in my opinion, if I was given the power, I'll normalize it. Use whatever tech tools that you need during an interview. I want to see your approach, your fundamentals, your systems thinking, your understanding of the problem and how you're going to apply it to get these answers back. Then I'm going to put you on a spot and ask you bunch of out of nowhere questions and test your not your understanding or knowledge, test how much you can remember. So that's again my personal opinion.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the talent pyramid overall. It's not just about junior talent, even though that's where we've been focusing. When we had our prep call, you talked about the change in the last couple of years, kind of shifting talent up the pyramid. Tell folks a little bit about what you mean by that.
That is a really important question, because we're not just talking about hiring strategy here, we're talking about future of tech force, right? Over the past few years, hiring has concentrated the top of the talent pyramid. Companies want fewer engineers, but they want people who are deeply skilled and immediately productive. And bar shifted upward, not because leaders stopped believing in junior talent, but because economic pressure forced them to optimize for speed, efficiency, and certainty. And, so now the question, what would need to be true to reopen that bottom of the pyramid and bring back larger cohorts of early career talent, right? So I want to give some background on, about an organization. When they started as an org a few years ago, they needed very experienced senior plus talent to identify and solve the core architectural components of that product or service that they're working on. This is a real example. Now that they are much more matured in terms of platform engineering and service reliability organization, who knows exactly what needs to be done, they are pivoting towards more of a junior talent, and recently had 50 plus early in careers hires across the globe. So the trend I've seen in my personal experience is when there is a big problem to go solve, they want people who already knows how to solve the problem or has a skill set to understand the problem and and have set up the baseline, set up the fundamentals and everything core working well, and how to stabilize the product and charter, all of that before willingness to invest in junior talent to scale up that work. So think about this: we are at the beginning of AI era, but the more mature it is, I can see the shift in trending hiring trends. AI, now AI tool will become a catalyst, for this shift. So it's going to bring junior engineers even at a much more, like higher fold than it was before, because AI becomes a force multiplier that accelerates onboarding, removes the ramp up penalty, and allows junior engineers to contribute faster with guided tooling, and leaders hopefully will start feeling more confident expanding the base again, because that's see, like, if you see early startups, they bring bunch of senior directors, VPs, head of engineering, head of product, and all of them first set up this product strategy, technical strategy, get the ground hitting and running, and then to scale that is when they actually bring the junior talent to help scale that up. I think it applies for AI as well. When companies know how to leverage AI for productivity, how to stabilize the whole chaotic where we are going with AI strategy, I think there will be more and more opportunities for junior engineers.
That's really encouraging, I think, for folks to hear. And I love how you described that, because it's really clear. You're saying this is more than likely a temporary pause because the strategy is not clear. We're experimenting. We're trying to figure out what works. But when it's time to put fuel on that fire to accelerate things, that's when the opportunities start to pop up, and we can expect to see the uptick there.
Yeah, that's what I truly believe, right? I mean, think about it. Otherwise, I really hope I'm right, and I think I believe I'm right, because we need the human force to be working and making money and giving back to the community, spending it out for the economy to run as well. So there is no other way. Like, we have so many trends in the history. We went from, I don't know, horse carriages to trains and cars and all of that. We survived all of that. We learned to be more productive with the engines and technology available. And I believe AI is going to be the same thing. This is just the initial stage, the turbulence that we are facing, because everybody is figuring out what to do. But once that is figured out and we settle down, I can, see that we are all going to be more productive. Ability to even spend more time with our families and friends and things we love. And leverage AI for some of these things.
Yeah. If you notice, fear sells. And so the headlines about just this dystopian AI, world that we head into is a lot of what you see in the headlines. But I see an equal, or actually larger, number of people actually talking about the fact that there's going to be the need for more humans with that context that you talked about, that are really able to use these tools. That doesn't get the same headlines, or doesn't get the same exposure, right? When folks talk about that, as it does when someone says, yeah, we're going to just replace all the human coders and AI can just do it all on its own. Yeah. That gets headlines and attention.
Exactly. Because panic is what get headlines, right? Not the good news. So that's why. But I truly believe this, because humanity has survived hundreds of innovations so far. It's going to survive this too, in a much more productive, efficient way than before.
So let's fast forward. Let's say it's January 2026. You're launching a new platform team. Help me understand. You talked a bit about it, but just help me understand how you would approach the mix of engineers you'd staff on that team, juniors, mid, seniors. How would you staff those teams up, and why would you do it that way?
So let's say, hypothetically, I'm standing up a team of 10 people. I would definitely want like 2 principal staff engineers who are going to be the technical lead, setting up the technical strategy and direction for the team, really setting it up that core fundamentals and baselines. And that's how I always operated, not just in AI era. And then there are going to be mix of like senior, mid-level, and early in career folks, like 2 to 3 each, right? All of these. So again, see the principals and staff and senior engineers are the strategists who set up the strategy and do the proof of concepts and build the prototypes on how to solve the problem, experiment and fail fast, and then bringing more of mid-level and junior talent to actually go do that work. Honestly, they have the time and energy more than this senior and principal engineers have, and more patience also, in my opinion. Now, even me now, I get so impatient if I'm not able to get something right, like in half an hour or 1 hour of trying, because I'm like, I should know this. Like, but the patience to actually dig into debug and all of that also, they have more time and energy in general to go do this. So
Yeah.
it has to be a good mix of that. I'm not it's And if everybody is strategist, who is going to do the coding, who is going to actually write this production level code and deploy and do the live site and all of that? And we, at the same time, we also need strategists who can understand the problem space and set this long-term strategy. So I always followed this approach. I always had good mix of senior most, mid-level and junior talent in my team all the time. I even had a time where my manager once asked, "Hey, there is one senior engineer looking for a new role. Would you want to take them?" Then I asked, what are their career goals, number one? Because if they are looking to become a principal level person, I need to be able to give ownership of a big bang feature or product area for them to be able to grow into that. Right now, I don't have that. I have 4 principal engineers on my team, and all of them own those areas of already doing this. So there is no place I could use them, and it won't be fair for them to come here and struggle. No, I don't want it. So I rather hire a couple of junior engineers who actually can do the work and help us move faster in the direction that we want to go than hiring this person. This is a true story. It happened a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
you have to think about that, right? Like have it feels good on paper to see, I guess, for some people like senior heavy team, but in long term that's not sustainable in my opinion.
Yeah, and I can only imagine the attrition that would be experienced if everyone was thinking that way. I'll just get someone who can do the job today and we'll see what happens. I don't have the thing that actually lines up with where they want to go. You were thinking about it totally differently, and like that matters so much on the other areas that you're not necessarily thinking about right away in terms of, will this person feel valued and engaged and supported and growing?
Yeah, exactly. And if that's not the case, like why create this you know vacuum for everyone not knowing what to do with him or with that person or with for them on this project? So that's yeah, I always followed this, not because of AI or anything like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such an interesting conversation. I hate that we have to start to wrap things up, but I want to hit really quickly on just almost from a personal standpoint. And your personal and business lives are of course intertwined. You've had multiple promotions in the last 5 years. You've also started a family and had a couple of kids as well. So I want to understand how you're navigating that. And can you share with the audience just the personal operating system that you have and the habits or rituals or rules that you have that made all of this possible for you in the last 5 years?
That's a good question because a lot of people ask me that. When I first started at Microsoft in May 2019, right, and I was set to get married in June of that year, June 14th. So the invitations were out, all of that obviously, and we were doing wedding planning, and I was also interviewing for Microsoft. And Microsoft interview process was heavy, and I had to do 7 rounds of interview, all that.
Wow.
My one of my very best friends, like close friend, we've known each other from college days in India. She was actively discouraging me to interview or even take the job. She's like, how are you going to balance your marriage, like life with, new job and all of that? Why do you do that? I said, no, I mean, both are important to me. I am not going to be, I don't want to be resentful towards the marriage because I had to slow down in my career. At the same time, I don't want to, postpone my personal life just because I'm getting a new job. They are like both two different paddles of life. They are intertwined a lot of times, but they both are needed for me as a person to be happy, successful, fulfilled. So I'm not gonna, do this. So, and when I shared this with my fiance at that time, who is my husband now, he was like, "That's so 1980s thinking. Don't worry about it. Like, it's just I've known you for a couple of years, and I." And you'll be more unhappy if you reject this offer than take
Yeah.
it. So just don't worry about it. So I think it's just being able to prioritize honestly, not as a sort of personal versus professional things, but taking the whole set and prioritizing based on urgency and importance. So I don't believe in work-life balance in a traditional sense, that is work for 9 to 5 and do personal stuff after 5 p.m. or whatever. I believe and I balance work and life based on what are my combined priorities for that day, week, or even month. So when I was pregnant with my older daughter, I was not doing anything around the house, any physical work, because my husband and I both were paranoid that would hurt the baby. And it's no scientific proof it would. It's a parano. We were just paranoid. Oh, we don't want anything to happen to baby. No dishes, no. So I had much more time to spend on work. So I was working like 10, 12 hours a day during weekdays. And a few hours on weekends just working because I was kind of bored because I don't have any, we were not traveling, because, oh, our traveling might hurt the baby. Everything might hurt the baby. That was the kind of
Yeah.
paranoia, right? And we were not eating out a lot because I don't know what they are feeding me in restaurant and I don't want whatever. Like this was so much, that carefully have, let's be careful kind of a thing. We had so
Yeah.
much time on hands. So I ended up working a lot, like 10, 12 hours a day. And, and it was great. And after the baby came, the first 3 months, both my husband and I took complete break for 3 months. No parents, no relatives from either side. Friends and family could come visit and go. But it was our space to be in the 3 months time.
Okay.
Completely
Wow.
prioritized ourselves, just three of us. And we had so much fun. We watched so many shows. We had all of that. And coming out of the 3 months, I decided not to use all of my maternity leave because I wanted to go back to work. Again, my choice to do it. I could have taken a couple more months, but I wanted to go back to work, which I did. And I set my work timings different from 10 a.m. That way, we all could get good night's sleep. So I would start
Yes.
only at 10 a.m. I continued it for a long time. Now I have a team in India. I'm again on calls at 7 a.m. a lot of days. It's all about this balance. What is the priority to that day, to you, to be fulfilled and happy and, all of like successful in your life and career, and prioritize based on that. That's what a lot of a lot of people say. Trying to do it all is impossible. It is impossible if you are trying to do all of it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's okay to order pizza tonight and don't have to cook. If you want to make a huge meal for, we just had a Diwali. Both my husband and I took half day off. He took the whole day off. We made like a decently huge meal for us and my sister's family to come and eat together. And taking that half day off to do that is absolutely fine. The other
Yeah.
day where we are like, no energy today whatsoever, I'm gonna just, there were days I used to eat a bowl of cereal and go to sleep. Now that we have kids, we don't do bowl of cereals for dinner anymore. But, so it's all about this balancing act, right? Adjust your schedule, be open about it with your team, with your manager and all of that. I pinged my peers and my boss reporting to my boss in a same chat, right? Hey, I'll be away from 10 to 11:30 because I have something to do. I was kind of I did not want to tell them I'm doing podcast because it was like feels a little bloating your ego or something. So
Sure.
I'm like, they're like, okay, see you later. So they're not pinging me right now at
Yeah.
all, like, because they knew that I was away doing something. They didn't even ask what it is. Nobody asks you any questions. If they know you are delivering, how to get your stuff done. And that is true for all of like early in career folks, experienced individuals, everyone. I am very like I not just my immediate family. I also, my sister lives right next door. Most of my first cousins are in US. I'm actually going for a wedding of a second cousin in Dallas, next week, next Saturday.
Okay.
I give so much importance to my family, extended family, and friends, and I'm there in all their life events, and I want them in all my life events. But I'm still happy and growing in my career. So just it's a balancing act. And just making a lot of meals from scratch is not going to make you a good mom, or not making
Yeah.
you not going to make you a bad mom. It's, my daughter had Diwali celebration at school because we are Indian family. We are expected to contribute. I mean, which is great. So last year we bought sweets from the store, traditional Indian sweets to take into the Diwali. This year I made it at home. It's fine. Whatever. My daughter doesn't even
No
care.
difference.
No
Yeah.
difference whatsoever. Just this year I wanted to, because I learned this very easy new recipe from my aunt when she was visiting last time in July. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it out. So this is
Yeah.
it. So the wedding I was going to go to, right? As if it would have been great if we went as a family, my husband and my daughters and myself. But it is not possible to do that. Like, it's a lot of travel, a lot of planning. We're all busy with work. So I'm taking an early morning flight at 5 a.m. in the morning. Wedding is at 12:30. So, attending the wedding, 7 p.m. flight back home, just myself and my sister.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
still there, and I'm also still here with my family. And Sunday, we are still prepping for the next week. And from Monday, I'll be still at work. Balancing act. Another thing I'll tell you, saving money is super important. Great. But you have to spend some money to get some independence back in your life, some freedom back in your life. Hire help. A lot of people do not do that. And I mean, like, hire help when you can delegate stuff. Nothing wrong with it.
Sure.
A lot of people do not do that. That's another interesting thing. Have a someone come clean your house every 2 weeks or a month, based on how much like you need it to be cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
Hire someone to meal prep if you're able to afford at that stage in your life, so that you get your time back. Spend some time on delegating some money in delegating some of the things, so you can get your time back and you're able to prioritize what's most important to you. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. I love that. And the way that you framed it up in terms of not having this hard separation between work and life, but they're intertwined together. The one key I pulled out of there, though, and I hope that the early career folks heard, is your you made a statement that, of course, your boss, your peers know the work-life balance that you need, but they also know that you get the job done.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, is the key. If they are confident that you're getting the job done, you are on top of the things that you're supposed to own, we can have all kinds of work-life balance at that point, and you can do the things that you need. It doesn't matter if it's during the workday or after or before, as long as there's a level of confidence that what's most important, what you've been assigned, will be taken care of. And they're not having to follow up to figure out, oh, did you take care of that thing?
Yeah.
That trust can be built, and it goes such a long way if
Yeah.
you actually make sure you're showing up on the job as well.
Yes. And I'll add one thing to that. I forgot the name of this author who wrote this book, but she came and did a webinar with the speaking engagement with Microsoft time ago. It's something to do with Pulse, the name of the book, I forgot. But one interesting thing she said is, in your career, in anybody's career, in your work, the results you deliver is your net worth. That is your net worth to your career. People see, are you able to get the work done, produce results, and that are impactful for the company and for the organization. That is your net worth at work. Nothing else, in a way, nothing else matters. Of course, you have to be collaborative. You have to be someone people actually want to work with, and all of that. But the
Yeah.
actual work that you're getting done is your net worth. That is not my statement. I forgot the name of the author, and but it's her statement.
I love it. That's a wonderful way to wrap up this conversation. And I just want to say thank you for first making the time, but also coming prepared with your insights to share on just so many interesting questions that folks are asking as the scene is just changing all around us. And the theme that I kind of heard today is, even though a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are also still the same. And we're focused on the same things while the world's changing around us. It's that consistency, it's that ownership, it's the fundamentals that truly, truly matter, regardless of how things continue to shift around us. So, Anusha, thank you so much again for being here. This was wonderful.
Thank you for the opportunity, Rob. I've not done speaking engagement the last 2 years, again, prioritization with family. But this is great to be able to actually talk and, share my opinions and for anybody who cares. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Absolutely. Wonderful to have you.